This is the Newzchain Podcast, and today we are counting down our top 7 most inspirational questions from our recent episode. When was the time when you thought, I want to get into the startup ecosystem? Was it around your internship in Germany, as you said?
So actually, during my internship in Germany, this is where I really realized that Stacksync would be a big idea, and where I decided to build startups, and then which kind of refined into the Stacksync idea, which we know today. But so when did I really knew I would build a startup? I would literally when I was a kid. I was always, I always said I want to make my own company. I wanna build something big. I want to create something, right? So I think for me, the fact that I would do companies, it's completely, from the start, right? It was no surprise to my parents, when I was like, okay, well, now I'm gonna do a startup. Then the space of tech is really when I started to understand, in tech everything is possible. With only a few lines of code, you can do whatever you want. And this is really what really empowered me to actually build something material like a product, and make it a company, basically.
Obviously, they've coding is again, as people don't credit it enough, it's quite tough as well. I've seen friends and family who get all heckled in their head, and they're like, you know what, I'm just giving up and so. So there must have been times where you would have felt down, right? Can you talk about that? How did you, got out of that kind of phase?
So we had many moments where we got down. I think I can talk about many. Basically, startup. Basically, in the journey of a startup, if someone wants to be an entrepreneur, it's gonna be mostly downs and ups. And then suddenly you're gonna see a change where you have more ups and downs. And this moment is basically the moment where you start growing. But before the growth phase, you have more downs and ups. And eventually you have to get resilient. So the biggest secret of entrepreneurs, right, is not giving up and being resilient, right? So if your startup keeps alive, persevering in the hardship, right, for more than 2 years, you have a significantly higher chance to succeed than if you would give up in any between 0 to 2 years of existence. So one of the times where we were down, actually, it's really at some point, right, we were reaching, when the plane started to touch the trees, get so low, you touch the trees. This is where basically our finances would get basically at some point where we wouldn't know how to end up the month, right? So every month would be like a secret, we would only have a 2-3 month or 4 month runway, and then we luckily found some angel investors and one VC called Lightbird VC, which actually believed in us and say, hey, actually I want to support you. And then suddenly we got back on track. But actually it didn't change, right? It's not because the bank account was low that the team was low, right? We kept, and we said, okay, we're gonna go until the last moment until we can make this happen. And eventually perseverance, right? You always get saved at the end, right? Just in a snap. And this is what happened to us. And this was it was pretty much a long moment for a few months, almost a year. We were very, very low. So we really had to keep, hoping and persevering for this to happen.
So by this time, were you graduated from your master's?
No, actually, I was doing my studies. So we were two. So we were one. So I was solo founder at the moment. I've always been a solo founder until my co-founder joined me. A few months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. So, but eventually, you're right. I was alone with my team member, Bilal, which actually we made the whole journey together, right? So actually we had one salary to pay, and I wasn't getting paid, but the company would have expenses, right? So it's somehow you have to pay sort of 2 salaries somehow, even though I wouldn't get a salary. And this has been dragging on for 1.5 years. So absolutely crazy, right?
How did it come about the moment when you realize, this is now the product is taking a shape, we can pitch it to the investors, we can get some funding over that? When was that eureka moment for you?
So this moment was basically when you start getting the first customers. Basically, like, investors are good and everything is good, right? But actually, like, what's better than investor money is customer money, right? Is the people who actually pay because you drive value for them, and they're willing to pay a share of the value you create for them with you, and this is the pricing. So basically, like, for us, like, what was really like the moment where we could start to pitch to of course, angel investors, you pitch them like because you know them, and this happens. But like for real VCs, you would pitch it to them like once you have the first sign of traction. I would say first sign of traction, and like, like the first paying customers, which actually pay a decent amount of money, a decent amount of money, and actually like have good experiences with the product. And this is what we want to see, right? So it's like at some point, like, you're not making a product for investors, right? So people who had AI on their slide deck just because it pleases investors and now they can get more funding. Eventually, like, this will never go to a good end. Like, you have to make something people want, which is like basically the wise slogan. And eventually as well, just if customers like you, investors, the finances, the employees, the everything, like, everybody will like your company. But like, first, a successful company is not a company that raises money. It's not a company which has a lot of press hype. It's not a company which gets into the incubator programs and does some stuff like that. A successful company is a company which has only one measure: successful customers. And the money is a byproduct of successful customers. And success is a byproduct of money and successful customers.
You went through YC, you had a sense of validation, now you knew it, I guess before even YC, that you have something that nobody else has made. You were aware of the competitors, right? So do you also say, we briefly touched upon the topic of AI, right? There are a lot of companies will just take an API, fit it in their somehow UI, UX, and that's it, they're calling themselves a product or a startup, right? Do you I don't know if I want to use the word threatened, but do you see that as a competition with like, especially with the OpenAI coming with more upgrades? They came up with 4.0, right? They're coming up with so, yeah. So they'll keep on doing that. Do you see that someday that might replace the product that you are building? How do you deal with that? What's the mindset?
So actually, Stacksync is not really an AI product. I mean, it has, there can be some features, powered by AI, etc., and like some workflow and all that. But the thing is, like, the core of it is not AI. The core of it is the data synchronization. So if you think about the data world, right, it's like a pyramid, right? So in the beginning, you have what?
Now, if you'd allow me to correct, I might have phrased the question incorrectly. What I mean is, people can code from AI now, right? They can create games, they can create programs out of it directly. And with more upgrades, it will be more possible to generate complex codes. So in that regard, do you feel threatened? Some way some other people might create something which they don't have to pay for?
So eventually, like, no, I think we don't filter them at all by AI, and especially like the developers, etc. Because actually, Stacksync is a very excellent system because of its design, and design encompasses many things, such as like, how do you have an architecture that scales to infinity? How do you leverage the best deployment technologies and infrastructure? How do you use databases, and streaming infrastructure? Cybersecurity, right? And if you look at our competitors, right? I mean, all competitors, there are not really real competitors in two-way sync because nobody really does it. But like, even the people who do some kind of sort of shady two-way sync or like suboptimal two-way sync, right? They don't have, they don't have cybersecurity built in. It's very like a shame, like the way it's done. It doesn't scale at all. It's absolutely not enterprise grade. So basically, like, we're really addressing like a very special part of the segment, which is enterprise systems. And there are some other people who do two-way sync for no-code tools, for example, for some other systems, but these are not enterprise ready, and they don't scale. And this is really where Stacksync position, right? And we don't overlap with each other at all, right? So we're even friends because actually we do not address the exact same market, and we will never have the same personas. So two-way sync for enterprise systems right now cannot even be replaced by humans, and for it to be replaced by AI, it's almost impossible.
No, I absolutely love it when someone is confident about their product, because that's the first thing. If you don't believe in your product, if you don't feel in the uniqueness, then no one else
Yeah,
can.
exactly. But
And kudos to you for do that. Yeah, no,
absolutely.
go on.
But I think for us, like we don't feel threatened by AI, and like even like humans, like they even like excellent engineers, which have worked at excellent companies, that don't do something which is 10% what we're doing, not even 10%. So I mean, like before that, we might just upgrade humanity before, and then we might think about what AI might be reproducing about us. But it's very different, right? So I would not. I'm saying Stacksync because Stacksync powers real-time and two-way sync between CRMs and databases, which is a core operational infrastructure for companies to sync their data with their CRM and different enterprise systems. If we would be talking about like an AI company, which is, let's say, an AI document generation or whatever kind of AI topic, I would not say the same thing at all. Like this is completely different, right? So because like the Stacksync is really a hardcore technology which we had to build from scratch. It's like we literally design algorithms, which is not the same as putting a front end together with some AI APIs and then making something which is very good and actually serves a lot of people, right? But actually, like this can be more and more disrupted by AI because AI becomes easier to implement, right? And there is nothing secret, in implementing a UI or a good serving. So maybe except like for a unique customer insight, which make founders design an amazing product. Like AI can disrupt a lot of fields. Exactly.
So what is next for Stacksync? What are the next steps apart from what you already shared about team splitting and the growth in like your human resources? What's the bigger
So
picture
actually,
here?
right now we released already a part of it in beta, and we are releasing to more and more customers. Our newest performance upgrade, which is gonna go up to 1 million records, which can sync up to 1 million records, Salesforce records a minute, 60,000 records a minute for HubSpot, and much more. So which is absolutely insane. It's like a 10 times more than any other product on the market. Or maybe like for the most performant ones, you can go to 50% or 200% more, right? Which is crazy. So actually, we are releasing this performance upgrade, and now that we have this, and our entire system is ready to scale to infinity. Now we actually gonna develop more and more connectors to serve actually more systems. So now Stacksync works with 5 connectors, among which like Salesforce, HubSpot, Postgres, BigQuery, and Snowflake. And then like we're gonna grow this palette of connectors. So now our customers gonna have much more synergies and gonna be able to integrate much more systems together.
What was it like to have two different cultures while growing up? Right? Did it affect, like you're essentially trilingual, as I can see, right? Or is it polylingual, adding some German and?
So I'm a very light German, so I might not be able to speak German on this podcast. But yeah, I speak French, Italian. So this is like I always grew up with it, and then like I learned English on the go, right? So I read at university, and it was a completely crazy time. Like it was very, like I would barely present myself, and then like I learned on the go, on the fly, with courses, with very hard work, and then I learned how to speak English eventually. So I think after 6 years or 7 years of living only in English, maybe you pick it up pretty fast.
How did you keep yourself from having a spaghetti brain, while working? And because there are so many times, and we have touched upon that in one of the previous questions as well. There are downers. There are times that you feel, like it's the end of it. So, what would you suggest people to keep on doing to get out of that? Because everyone tells them, you should persevere through that, right? You should push through that phase. What is Ruben's personal advice that he must have followed through his
So
journey?
I have to say, I'm still an entrepreneur, right? So no entrepreneur really ends the journey of being an entrepreneur. So you're never like a senior, you might even reach your end of career, but you're still at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, because entrepreneur is about always learning. And the goal of an entrepreneur, I mean, if people have problem with failure, entrepreneurship is really not a place to go, because entrepreneurship is about failure, right? And it's actually about like getting up faster than you fail. So basically, overall, you fall less than you raise, and this overall becomes like growth, right? So this is a goal. And actually, like, you know, as a CEO, right, as a leader of Stacksync, I always get into problems that people can't solve. And once I know how to solve it, you know, I create a playbook and I give it to someone else to now solve. And now I go to another problem, and this problem is again unresolved, right? And actually, you're always learning. And actually, you're always learning, especially when you are young. You're always having problems that you actually don't know how to handle. You know, sometimes you have technical problems, sometimes you have finance problems, sometimes you have like accounting problems, legal problems, and stuff like this. And basically, you always have problems that nobody ever told you or ever warn you about this. So this is just called experience. So you have to, even in the face of hardship and down, and you know, like down periods, right? This is important to know that you have to persevere, right? So perseverance, resilience, and dedication. So a dedication as in the meaning of ruthless execution. These are the three things that you actually really need. You need to ruthlessly execute, because you need to be always there on deck. You have to outwork and outsmart the competition like never before. You know, like you have to really, you know, if people expect you to deliver 100%, you have to deliver 500%. You know, and anything lower than this is not enough. And you have to train on that rhythm, because the day where you only deliver 100%, it's gonna be easy for you. For the others, it's gonna be hard, and actually you're gonna be like feeling at home when you just deliver or as well over deliver. So always over deliver with the ruthless execution. Then you have, of course, perseverance, because you know, no matter what happens, you continue until you would have no regret if it failed. Right? This is a bit like the metric, right? So if you were to stop today, would you have a regret? If yes, don't stop. If you say, no, I just tried everything, you know, it's impossible, like I just can't figure out how to make it work, then like probably it's time to pivot or to change direction. But like perseverance, usually, I mean, this is something which comes very, very late. So basically you have to persevere all the time. And also resilience, I mean, it's most important, because you know, like when you execute very, very, very ruthlessly, right? And you also like persevere all the time, you might hit like roadblocks which seems like mountains, but this is something that you can overcome. It's something that you can overcome, and you have to be resilient to any hit you might take. That's the most important.